First off, I want to start, I guess, to extend our condolences to Larry's wife and family. He had a lot of life experience and valuable input, I think, that we'll probably miss here. So I believe there's a card
Yes.
that we'll pass around to sign. So, roll call. Dwight Fleming.
Here.
Brad Gorsuch.
Here.
Kathy Enlow.
Here.
Jim Schmidt.
Here.
Mel Fleming is absent. Chase Gann is absent. Glenn Thiessen.
Here.
William Kropa.
Here.
And Derek Dalton is here. Sharon Olmstead, our secretary.
Here.
Brandon Meyerhoff, our recording secretary.
Here.
Russ Avey, our planning consultant, here. Okay, record of proceedings of the August 26th meeting. Anybody have anything? We all look at Kathy.
I know, and I don't. Sorry.
I think that's a motion to accept right here.
If it's been moved and seconded to accept the record of proceedings as presented, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you, Carrie.
Easy enough. I guess now we need to open as the Board of Zoning Appeals to consider case number BZA 21-01, special exception application filed by Ronald Lynch to construct an accessory structure greater than 900 square feet in the Marion Reservoir East Shore Residential District located at 2132 Schlotthauer. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yep.
Yes.
Marion, Kansas.
Yes.
I will yield to
Sorry, I just lost my stuff.
Sharon.
Okay, so property owner notification letters were sent out to everyone within 1,000 feet on October 5th. And there was a legal notice published for public hearing on October 6th. And I believe before we get started, we have a board member that would.
Yeah, I'd like to recuse myself from this and represent a couple different factions. And maybe it sounds like I may even represent the exception here. Since I don't think he's on the phone, right?
No, but we can call him if we need to.
Okay. Let's see where it goes.
Okay. Mr. Lynch has already left to go back to Arizona for the winter, and so Brad Gorsuch has had some conversations with him and feels comfortable answering those questions otherwise.
Okay. So, what Ron is proposing is he has 3 lots on the back row, Schlotthauer, and so his frontage is 180 feet, and I think his depth is 95 feet. He currently has, on that piece of property, let's see, he's got a manufactured home that's 28 by 44. He's got a garage 30 by 24, and then he's got a shed behind the garage that's 16 by 10. So he basically has a third of his lot, if not a little more, that has nothing on it. And what he would like to do is to put a 40 by 50 shed or building on there, and he's going to put sewer and water, correct?
Yes.
So, so the accessory structure says anything above 900 square feet, you need to come in front of the board of the zoning and ask for an exception. And we have a lot of precedents set in East Shore for buildings larger than I call it 30 by 30 to 900, so 30 by 30. My personal opinion, 30 by 30 is becoming somewhat obsolete as everything else grows out there, be it fifth wheels, be it vehicles, be it whatever. So we're having a lot of people going forward, and we've had 5, I wrote down just some of the buildings around there, including myself, that have came forward to build a structure larger than that. And so right around his building, there is a 48 by 60, a block away, a 60 by 40, a half block away, a 60 by 24, 10 feet away, a 40 by 48, 70 feet away, a 40 by 48, 80 feet away, a 50 by 30, which is probably 150 feet away, and right across the street is a 40 by 36. When you take those measurements, the average comes out to be a 40 by 48 of all those buildings. So we have a lot of buildings that exceed the 900 square feet, and personal opinion is the right thing to do is to grant his exception. It fits well. He's got a mammoth lot. He's got three lots, so it's 180 foot, which is 60 yards, and this fits very well on there. Relative to switching hats from representing him, I'll go into more into the improvement district. Our improvement district is trying to, the ultimate goal in any unincorporated or any place is to increase the value of your properties. And you do that by, A, getting rid of houses that, or in our case, single wide trailers. We've gotten rid of it, since I've been out there 23 years, and I think my memory's pretty close. If anything, this is underestimated. We have gotten rid of 17 single wides out of the East Shore, which is a big deal, because single wides don't add value. I'm glad we're not on the phone, because someone may think they do, but they don't add value, so getting rid of those. And then finding people that will build structure that is of a size that makes people want to move up there. We've had 9 manufactured homes added, which are double wides in terms of, we've had 4 homes built, and we've had 14 garages built, and 5 big metal buildings built in the 23 years I've been up there. And those are all steps in the right direction. And subsequently, I've seen the price of our properties go up, and this is what we want to do, is to put larger structures up there so people will move up there full time. He has service there for both sewer in the back of the lot and water to the front of the lot, and we both support that because it's revenue, and we also support it because of tax dollars increased by nice building. So it's a plus. So so I've hit rural water district, which I'm on. I've hit improvement district. I've hit what he's wanting, and as my relative to myself, anytime we can get a good person willing to invest. These are people that are willing to invest in our subdivision. It's a big deal, and we don't want to squelch them. So bottom line is, not as part of the board, but as part of an individual in the subdivision, I fully support this. And Rural Water supports it, and East Shore Improvement District supports it. So, not battling.
Dwight, did you have a
I
question?
have a question on the layout. It isn't indicated on the map, or I may have missed it. As far as, will this have a door and a drive, I assume?
Yeah, right through there.
Yes.
Okay.
There's an existing entrance with a culvert right there.
Okay.
There is an entrance already.
Believe it
there.
or not,
Yep.
the county gave him the culvert and he installed it, because the county doesn't always do things at a time.
No.
Only for us, they don't. Everyone else gets.
Now you're a county office here. You gotta be careful.
Are we being
We are-
wiretapped or anything?
Let
We
that
are
echo in here for a
Yeah.
while.
We are recording the
No.
meeting, but
No, he elected on his own to spend his own money, and they elected to provide him culverts.
Sure.
So, everything else needs to be just probably struck. It was uncalled for.
I mean, it looks like there's plenty of room in the lot, setbacks, everything, all that.
Plenty of room.
here, I mean, here's another
that
picture
looks-
from pictometry if anyone wants to
Yeah.
look at it, but it's,
He, the guy to the south, and I've talked to the guy to the south, his name is Jim Crable, and I said, Jim, are you okay with it? He says, yeah, but I would have built a bigger building than that. if I said, okay, Jim, I'm just asking you. So everyone's okay with it, that no one's,
Well, it's, I mean,
this is a value proposition for us in terms of improvement. So-
better permanent structures, I mean, that's never a bad thing, I don't think.
I think he's gonna put a bedroom in it too, so when, so it augments his house and stuff like that. So,
Are they having to take trees out to get it in there?
no. there's not
It looks like
really-
it's shadow, or is that just a shadow there?
I think it's-
I think there was some trees along the south side that were on Crable's, but I think some of those have been trimmed back. It's really
That's
the
okay, I'm
trees
not a
that.
tree hugger.
Yeah.
I forgot, I had some pictures that I took on site, and I meant to put those in the little packets, but I didn't. That image up on the screen, you're seeing the top of the trees more, so when you're looking at it from a ground level,
Well, I
it's,
noticed the buildings have a little shadow, so the trees must maybe too.
yeah.
Trees on boundaries.
There's three
sometimes-
cedars on the south end side.
Sometimes trees on boundaries cause whose tree is it? It's your tree or
Yeah.
my tree? That's also.
Believe it or not, the boundary line is the owner to the south, about 3 foot away, those trees line up on him.
this image probably shows it a little better, and this was a 2020 pictometry image.
So,
That's a good question, yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments, concerns?
In my staff report, on that second paragraph there, so he is proposing a 40 by 50 steel building. There's an existing entrance with a culvert that he'll use for ingress and egress. A portion of the interior will be designed as guest quarters with a bathroom for occasional guests and personal use only. At no time will the space be used for full-time occupancy or for rental purposes. He was very adamant that this is just for, hey, if we have a couple come up to visit, and they might stay in that garage just for some private, private space. But the majority of the structure will serve as a garage and storage area for personal property.
Well, it looks like there's a precedence already there for larger buildings. I would move to approve the special exception. I don't know how you want to word that.
If you keep going.
Keep going.
Back a page, just got it laid out for you.
Do I have to say the whole thing?
Yes.
Kathy says yes, so.
I move to approve case number BZA 2101, a special exception request by Ronald Lynch to construct a accessory structure greater than 900 square feet in the ES Marion Reservoir East Shore Residential District located at 2132 Schlotthauer, Marion, Kansas, be approved with the following conditions. Guttering and/or landscaping shall adequately direct drainage from the proposed accessory structure into the existing drainage ditch. And an agreement shall be made with Marion County East Shore Improvement District for public sewer access prior to issuance of zoning certificate.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve case number BZA 21-01 as Glenn so greatly read. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Approval, special exception approved.
In this case, will not go to the commission.
Right, it's
This
done
is
here.
Done
Yeah.
here. So,
you'll
yeah.
contact him.
Yes, I'll type a resolution actually, I believe the chairman
Yeah.
signs,
Yeah.
and then he'll get a copy of that.
Did I read somewhere where, how soon he wanted to start this? Was it this calendar year,
He'll
Is that
be
what I read?
starting, I believe he's gonna, yeah.
spring of
Wants
this year?
to order
Or
it.
next year?
Next year.
Next year?
Right, yeah.
Takes about a 6-month lead time to get some of these metal contractors on board.
Okay.
So he needs to basically
He needs to
get
get
this
on
approved
it,
so he can get
right,
in the right,
get it ordered so he can get it.
get a slot.
Yep. Okay. We will move on. Item number 4, text amendments to the zoning regulations concerning shipping containers. I don't know if you all remember where we were. I think we kind of decided to, we kind of headed down a direction, and our biggest decision, I think, was on numbers, more or less. I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, just a brief recap. We had originally discussed, and I had prepared a memo that pretty much allowed, through the very similar process, the special exception process, the ability to have one of these storage containers in pretty much all the zoning districts. And one of the things that I think we focused on was, no, we don't want them in East Shore or the county lake lot development, and I believe, or the suburban residential zoning district. So I think we kind of pulled it back and basically are allowing it as a special exception in R1 and the village districts. So I have a-
think we talked about the,
It's certainly up for debate. I had a red line copy, Sharon, here, dated the 27th of August, which would have
Okay,
been the day
yes.
after.
Yes.
You wanna,
sorry, so.
I should have brought more copies.
Lake lot and East Shore prohibited,
I'm s-
R1 and,
I'm sorry, we just kept them out of
Village.
East Shore and Lake Lot.
I think the rest.
I think the rest
I
of them we
think the
decided.
rest, yeah.
We added
That's the way I
suburban residential,
remember it.
yeah. We know that we wanted it for for the suburban residential, right? That's the couple's property that kicked this off, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So the R1 and the village would be subject to a special exception?
Yeah.
Is that what we said?
Mhm,
Okay.
Yeah, so we permit them, you can do whatever you want to in the agricultural district. In rural residential, you were able to do one. So then we added that suburban residential, as you are allowed one, along with rural residential. But if you were in R1, single-family residential, or V1, you had to come through a special exception. I had originally also included LL and ES districts in that, and pretty much told to go pound sand on those.
That's the
So,
correct version.
still hurts my feelings a little bit, Brad, but that's all right.
I like the pound sand. That's grammatically correct.
So our question is I guess, suburban residential, we agreed one, do we rural, R1 and V1, leave it as a special exception or allow them one, I think is what we were trying to decide on.
Sure, I mean, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's the way I remember that
Yeah,
conversation.
we had some discussion that in the R1 and V1 that bring it forward, I thought, or something with a special exception in case you had neighbors that.
Yeah.
So they could still do it, but then if neighbors needed to voice
You
their
needed at least
opinions.
to have the neighbors' input.
In R1 and V1, you're just closer together.
Yeah.
That's the nature of those zoning districts. And so that was kind of the division, where we drew the line on that. And although that's what we talked about, and we kind of we pretty much stayed in the same ballpark. But there again, if we've had a couple of months to think about it and we wanted to change that, we could mix and match these designations as well. We could permit them outright if we wanted to. So you the planning commission, have still flexibility under how we've noticed this text amendment, so.
So are we looking to discuss, are we looking for motions, are we looking to do what?
I almost think we're probably looking for a motion.
We did have a pretty good discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, we beat that pretty hard.
Dwight, do you have any questions, or
No.
I didn't know if anybody else, William?
No, I think that sounds, an exception for those R1 and D ones, sounds as good in mind.
So basically, we just want to make sure we take out the ES and LL.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think what we're looking to do is to amend them by allowing one and suburban residential, moving R1 and V1 to special exceptions, and making ES and LL not allowed.
Maintaining that prohibition.
Yeah.
I put forth a motion to accept what Derek just stated.
Now, you have to repeat it, you have to read it.
I can't.
Repeat it.
That's
Kathy
on Brent.
says.
Yeah, that's on Brent.
If I get a
If
script
I
to
had
read,
to-
I can do it. Otherwise, I'm probably in bad shape.
Yeah. What did you say, Derek?
You'll second that, Dwight?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are voting on recommending approval to change the regulations so that suburban residential is allowed, R1 and V1 becomes a special exception, and ES and LL, East Shore and Lake lots, are prohibited,
Remain prohibited.
remain prohibited.
Yeah, exactly.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. That goes to the commission.
This will go to the commission on this over here. So that will be the 15th.
November 15th.
Yes, November 15th. Yep. That's the
And
plan.
Sharon, I'll get you a clean copy of that. if you
Okay.
don't already have it, so.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I have a question. So previous, on this exception right here, it doesn't have to go in front of the county commissioners, right?
Correct.
Is
Yes,
that something
because it's
new?
the Board of Zoning Appeals, which
Oh.
functions separately
Didn't close
than the
it.
Planning Commission.
I didn't do that.
Didn't close the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I thought I heard it.
I feel like I'm all thrown off my game just because
That's
for
where
one,
you
I'm
sat.
sitting in a different
That's
place,
right.
and because we're not, like on the virtual link, I don't know,
Maybe it was, I think.
Sorry, guys. I said it, I don't think the mic picked it up.
I think, I'll take it.
Okay.
But yes, that is the case. On a zoning appeal, we are the final stopping point.
Okay, perfect.
And when you
That was
write,
just a clarification for my knowledge.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and then now this goes to, we're done with this, and it goes to the commission, and they
Yeah.
gotta fight it out now.
yeah.
right.
It's a recommendation.
So the commissioners can either approve it the way the board has recommended it, or deny it, or send it back for further research, basically.
Did they have any edits on the solar? I was
They-
curious. I never followed up with the
Nothing.
solar.
No,
Yeah.
Clean straight through.
Yep.
Well, you
Both
guys are
of them.
doing a fantastic job.
Well,
is.
you're
Livestock and
fantastic.
solar.
Copy and paste from Johnson County and
Well,
whatnot.
hey, that takes.
Johnson County, it went, make sure you get.
Yeah,
the-
yeah,
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and also with this, it was noticed in the paper on October 6th, and letters were sent to cities and townships.
We just, that first one went,
have 2 more meetings.
man, we just
I
kind of rolled into
know.
that second item and
I know.
kind of skipped some things.
That's okay.
A few more years.
But Brad, when you're putting together a set of zoning regulations, it is one of those things that the county commission should pay attention to what you put under the Board of Zoning Appeals authority and what you put under the Planning Commission's authority. Because sometimes if it's an issue that the county commission wouldn't necessarily want to have to deal with public backlash over,
Yeah.
just throw it all on the BZA. But then there's times where you stick something in the BZA and they get pretty fired up because they think that everything that happens here will get to their bench at some point, and that's not the case. And so there's times where you have to rewrite the zoning regulations to eliminate something out of the BZA's purview.
Well, in the last BZA that we had, we were all gonna get sued, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was at the other one.
That's an interesting question. most all the boards I'm on always has insurance for the board members.
Yeah, the board is covered under the county's liability policy. Yes.
Usually you should ask that before you agree to a board, but I'm not very smart.
Tell you what, everything is more and more contentious, just across the board is amazing.
For sure.
Any off-agenda items?
Yes, I do have a couple of things. If I can find. Well, as you mentioned, Larry Cushenberry, I'm really going to miss his
You wanna
ability
pass
to
the
say
card
what's
around
on
while
his
we're-
Yes.
mind and, I just appreciated his practical experiences and how it applied to our meetings and the things that, those decisions that are made on this board. I'm going to miss that. But,
Have they had services? I kinda tried to look, I didn't,
that's what I wanted to say was
I
that
haven't seen anything yet.
I've contacted his daughter-in-law, and she said they haven't made arrangements yet, at least when I
Okay.
heard from her the other day. So, we can either wait to see if they have some sort of memorial service and set a plant or something, or I can just get some type of arrangement and either have it delivered to Yvonne or just take it out there or something.
Do you want us all to kick in some money for that, or how's that work?
We do have some cushion budgeted in for the planning commission, for like service gifts or dinner and things like that.
Still
So
you.
if the board's okay with that, I can
We could all put something in if we want to.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you heard what he died from? Or is it not
Well,
knowledge?
it was on public social media that he had COVID and passed away from complications of COVID.
COVID?
He called our office a
Yeah.
couple of weeks before he passed away and said that he was in the hospital, had COVID, and wanted to let us know that he may not be at this meeting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think he passed away the day I sent the board packets out, so his wife responded to that the next day
Wow.
to let us know that he had passed away.
That's too bad.
So next meeting will be December 2nd. We do have an application for a new cell tower.
A new cell tower, does that mean a structurally new one or an add to an old one?
Nope, it would be a completely new compound and tower altogether.
What's your company, or do you not ready to release that?
It's, they've submitted plans, it's Harmony, which is contracted with AT&T, I believe.
But AT&T,
I think AT&T will own the tower.
Let's see this area that needs it there.
You have the whole application,
So,
right?
I do have.
So where's it
Yeah,
going?
It'll be just west of Remington, right off of Highway 56.
So help me with Remington, it's back.
Remington is the Pilsen Road.
Okay.
So if you go north out of Marion.
There's several others kind of right.
Yeah,
around
there's
there.
quite a few. in there.
Yeah, there's some less than a
So
mile
there
away on that
are, and we'll probably have to get some information to the board before we have that hearing, because in 2016, there was a House Bill, was it
It's law.
2131?
It's codified, it's in the statutes now. Yeah, so our hands are gonna be really, really tied. It's almost, it's not quite the CAFO extreme, but it's on that approach. So, 2 months ago, I was in Osage County, and there's a SBA tower, and a guy that used to work for SBA then went on his own, and he's going around the state and around the Midwest, putting up a cell tower on the other side of the road from his competitor and trying to outbid him. And so we came to this meeting, and there were two people in the audience, and one was, and they both used to work together, so they drove together. But one was fighting him, and one was trying to get it established. And
That's Longhorn, what was the Leghorn, what was it?
Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, Foghorn Leghorn, where they fought and then they clocked out and then they rode home
Yeah,
together.
basically.
But there was an attorney from Wichita who was the fighter that still works for SBA, and he was trying to make the argument that, well, it's not ever been fought in court, so we don't really know what kind of teeth it has. And I'm like, I don't think Osage County wants to be the litmus test for this. I can generally read English pretty well, and it seems to basically the telecommunications lobbyists, kudos. I hope they're still enjoying Hawaii because they've earned their money. It forces a county to it forces a jurisdiction, gives them 150 days to process that zoning action, mostly a conditional use permit. And if you don't process it in 150 days, it's approved. You cannot dictate the style. You cannot ask them about co-location. You cannot say, is this area underserved? Is this, you cannot require vegetative screening of these compounds. And it's just kind of like, basically you can't do much of anything other than it's an inappropriate location. And that would be very, very difficult in most rural applications. You know, we put cell towers on tops of schools, so, in Wichita. So, I don't know
We can-
really what's left. It's kind of one of those
Setbacks.
things.
We can.
Setbacks,
Fall distance to the property
Yeah.
boundary has to be at least the height of the tower.
Yeah, so we used to be able to ask them what their RF rings were, and they would have these beautiful maps showing their propagation of their signals and their location, you know, the directional location of any of their signals. You could dictate monopole versus lattice. You can force locate, you can deny a CUP application for co-location reasons. Again, the partially used SBA tower on the west side of the road eliminates the need for one on the west side of the road. You can't make those arguments anymore. So it really hamstrung our ability to mitigate any adverse impacts or minimize the number. Everything else is in an appropriate location, is probably still debatable as much as they ever were. But you know, the ability to use zoning as a way to avoid these things sprouting up all over the place is a thing of the past.
How recent is that?
2016.
It was a House bill in 2016, and I feel like it was codified in maybe 17 or 18. I will get you some information you can blast out to everybody to read through it, but there's much more to it. That part of the House bill that affects our job is about a third of that House bill. The other stuff talks about how counties and cities who own right-of-way can put, how they can interact with it. I can't, if I'm the Board of County Commissioners, I can't charge Verizon 30% more for a franchise fee than AT&T. So it creates.
So do we have precedence of what we charge these yahoos to put up towers?
Well, that's the other thing, is that we cannot charge them any more than what we would for a standard
Building permit fee type.
commercial building permit. So,
Not like,
That's all they get, that's
not
all they
like
get
wind-
out of it.
So like
not
a-
like wind farms and stuff?
a wind turbine.
You can't say they screw up every road
with
in the
the
county?
whatever $100,000 project estimate is $500 permit. A cell tower, compound, accessory, whatever, all, that whole thing is $100 flat fee.
That's what they get.
Because that's our,
$100.
that's our, yeah. That's
But
our
we get the
base fee
benefit
for-
of better cell service.
Well,
Well, you assume so.
Not necessarily better if they.
If it's AT&T and you're on Verizon,
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time,
it's competition.
I think we're seeing a lot more of these cell towers. It was the wind farms of the early '90s, back in the halcyon days of the '90s. That was the thing that was going to create brain cancer and the thing that was going to wipe out society were cell towers. And then we got used to them, just like we got used to the telegraph poles and the telephone poles and rural electrification and all of that stuff. So I always was pretty much a champion of cell towers. I was just like, man, these things, it's like a street light. And granted, I live in smack dab in the middle of Wichita, so what do I know about vistas and stuff like that? That's true. But you kind of wonder with this broadband initiative that's actually, I'm fairly impressed with the speed of which broadband is reaching a lot of places in Kansas. You wonder if those telecommunication people in their 5G are starting to chug harder to firewall it to kind of get in front of broadband. Because that's really what the competition is. It's not cell carrier to cell carrier as much as it's cell carrier. Telecommunication companies really relied on their 5G type of internet service for remote areas. And now that broadband's coming along, much better. They're going to suffer because broadband's obviously better ultimately.
So what's screwy is my current internet service is AT&T, and I bounce off this tower right out here, which is less than a mile away from Remington, and that's an AT&T service. It's called fixed wireless, so you know. So AT&T is putting in another cell tower within a mile.
Prohibited to ask questions regarding that. Yes, I mean that's.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
So
Yeah,
it says
no.
that you may ask for a study on the service or the co-location availability within
Yes.
3 miles. You may ask for that.
They don't have to give it to you?
No,
They don't have to give it to you, but there's nothing
we
you
can't-
can do with it.
we can't say
You can't
no.
base your decision on it.
Yeah, so it's.
So
It is.
what's the point?
And most of the stuff that sounds like, and this attorney was that was against this CUP was like, well, it's right in here that you can ask for the stuff. It's like, well, yes. What does the last part of that sentence says? But you can't factor that into your decision. So it's. I guess I'm theoretically, professionally a zoning nerd, so it's interesting to me to read it. But I think most people would find that document, especially planning commissioners, you're going to find, I think, some of that interesting. To me, it was just like,
So what, the
God,
options are to
Kansas
just say,
legislature's easy.
within 150 days, say no, and then walk away, and you don't have to answer why you said no, or what?
sometimes
Then you
people will
can
drag their
appeal.
feet.
Or what do you mean?
I thought you had to
So
answer their request within 150 days.
You have to
or the-
process their application for zoning permit. You're allowed to zone them, but you can't do anything, you can't say no to it, so you make.
So
them-
I'm not smart enough to understand what you're saying. You're saying you have no recourse except to
You can
accept.
zone it. Marion County can require that they go through a public hearing to obtain a conditional use permit to set up that tower. In our review of it, we have 150 days to do whatever it is that we want to do, and if we go long, it's approved. Secondly, and most critically, whatever we would have normally done to require information or to have an informed decision and use as a basis of perhaps a denial the fact that there were co-location opportunities. We don't need a third tower here. We have 2 and they're both partially full. Put your stuff on one of them. Sorry that you're going to have to pay a lease to them, but that's the way it is. That's the way it has operated for 25, 30 years. Since this legislative act, we can't do that. So it's just basically, we'll accept your zoning application fee. We get to sit here and look at some pictures if they choose to show us pictures, and we approve it or don't. They
About
don't
the
care.
only thing you can complain about is setbacks. I mean,
Yeah, I mean.
Driveway locations, access to the site.
So I think
You can lose fast or you can lose slow, you just gotta pick what you wanna do.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well went that extra yard and just exempt them from zoning, like some other public utilities, like transmission lines or things of that nature. But they're still, I mean, theoretically, you can deny it, it's just gonna be tricky of how you would go about doing it.
I'm almost certain there will be some public comment from the people, the tower right next to that.
I wonder, I'll get up and leave if it's the same two idiots and no.
So we went through this
That wasn't 18.
Were you
I mean, I
involved?
heard
You probably weren't
once.
involved when we went through, we had two of them that came through here
I was-
Yeah.
2 or 3 years
The
ago.
Rise Broadband. And
One
then
at
there was
Gospel and one at Olney area, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were two smaller towers.
They were smaller towers.
And then
US Cellular at
was by
Gospel.
Gospel. So they provided the service ring study, but
And it was unique, I mean, I learned something there as far as, you know, the position on the tower is, that was, you know, it's like
right.
Verizon's gonna have their choice position,
Mhm.
you know, and the shorter tower was so they could get under, you know, get down into the homes. You're not going through roofs, but kind of, you know, getting more
Shoot
direct.
through their window. huh?
I feel like we delayed though, we had to put that off.
Yeah,
Were
some
we-
opposition.
were we
at
pushing?
council.
Well, we had
That-
interest anyway, yeah.
150-day limit?
No, I don't think so.
Because I know we had to delay that a couple meetings, it seemed like, or something happened.
There was some opposition towards, it was more of a personal issue towards the
Right.
applicant.
Yeah, because in the end, he's like, well, I don't really care if you build it, I just would wish you'd move it to the other side of the quarter, I think is basically what he said.
And there was some other
Mhm.
stuff that had to do with some local politics
Yeah.
that had nothing to do with the tower, that
Right.
kind of fed into their.
Yeah, just because of the person doing it, yeah.
So they wanted us to, as a condition of this thing, make them pay back a bunch of money or something.
Yeah.
In Osage County, they had one prior to this one that I was speaking of, that they filed, maybe in March, maybe in February, the application, and then we didn't have a few meetings, right? For various reasons, and we got, I think it hit, the Board of County Commissioners with, at 135, at the 135th day. So that was cutting it plenty close, especially when you have,
So what if some of these companies filed during COVID?
I don't think there's, I'm not sure that bill had any exemptions.
I was gonna say, I wonder if there's some got approved during COVID.
Well, another thing is that not all companies know about that House bill. Those guys from
They're not
Rise
doing their job very good
Broadband.
if they don't.
Yeah, really.
Any of that.
You'd think it'd be your job to know all the hospitals that relate to your business.
I think that if you're in the industry, you'd still be celebrating it.
Mhm. And this,
Okay.
the agent on
That'd be
this
their
one-
job. Actually, there's probably a lot of people that lost their jobs that would have to come here and
Probably.
argue that stuff.
Yeah. The agent on this application is from California, so. He knows his stuff in Kansas though.
Yeah.
And everything that I said based on our regulations, he countered with, well, I can point you to the, you know, this or that or whatever.
So they know what they
He's-
got.
Yeah, exactly.
So our biggest
Take your
thing would be is
medicine
if
the
there's a bunch
easy
of
way or
public-
the hard way.
Yeah.
public comment or public opposition,
That's
but there's
the-
still not much we can do with it.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing, I mean, there's always a potential for an appeal on either side of that. If you approve it, then someone could file an appeal, or if you deny it, then the
They're gonna
applicant can
file an
file an
appeal.
appeal, so,
Yeah.
I mean.
Depends on who you wanna fight with.
Yeah, well, and you just have to base your decision on the regulations and
Yeah.
it is what it is.
So these attorneys were, I mean, I basically was just like, look, I don't know what you need from me tonight, but I read the statute, here's my opinion, and the planning commission just approved it as is. And they were gonna take that fight. It was one of those things that my jurisdiction ends and the county councilor's jurisdiction starts at that point. So anytime there's lawsuit threats, it's like, look, you know how to find me for depositions. This is between you, the county commission, and the county counselor. If you can sway the county counselor, have at it. And I'd love to be wrong about some of this stuff, but nonetheless. So I need to follow up with Becky at Osage County to see exactly what transpired. I'm not sure it's been to county commission yet. Anyway, I'll try to follow up to see, at least get a little bit more input, because that's the only time that it's really been fought, over the House bill. The House bill being specifically the argument of what can and can't happen.
Yeah. And I know it will come up. It's,
So we'll get you copies of it so we all are on the same page at least.
Well, the key thing is, like you said, we follow the regulations, we interpret, we make sure that it fits the box,
right.
and we ship it on the way.
'Cause
If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
Exactly. I
That's
mean,
all
I
we
think
can do
that's,
here.
honestly, that should be what your decision is based on every case.
Right.
So, and you guys do an excellent job of that.
Okay.
I'm getting pretty used to court, so.
Yeah.
But it could be that, you know, one company would take that up with the other company and not necessarily the county.
I liked it because it was kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Because the fight wasn't whether that tower should be there. That planning commission there was gonna approve it one way or the other. But just,
Based on.
the fight was just between two cell tower people.
Mhm.
And one was getting bitten by the very rules that they probably helped fund.
Mhm.
Probably. That's the irony.
Yeah. At my age, I think I've had plenty of irony. Professional irony at least. So, and I'm gonna talk to you after this, but one of the questions that was brought to me that will probably be brought up after we hear this case next month, do we need to go into the regulations and carve out stuff? Kinda like we did with
We do
CAFOs.
need to-
So,
Clean it up,
Clean
make it
it up.
easy. If it's
Well-
not- if it's a no-brainer.
yeah, it's like your appendix. I mean, if it doesn't belong in there anymore, then let's get it out. It's gonna cause problems. Whenever something radical like that type of state law, like if they would do something at the state level with wind energy, for example, then you come into your regulations, you just clean it out. There's no sense in having CAFO restrictions in our regulations
We can't do
if we
anything
can't
with it.
use them. Because all that does is create dissension and confusion which we have plenty of reason for that in the heated public debate. We don't need the citizens correctly pointing out the disparity.
Yeah, it'll be, I don't know, could be a good learning experience.
Isn't that what all these are?
I feel like it's.
Famous last word.
That's
Yeah,
what
well,
there's a
the-
piece down at the end of the
I'm
rainbow,
like,
isn't there? Someone's gonna get
What
one.
have we not done yet? You know, I mean.
Yeah.
What's coming, don't worry.
What
Something
is
will
there
find
out
it.
there? But
Yeah. Was that it? Or did you have more?
that's it. So, have a great Thanksgiving and, no, I do have one more thing. So, now that we're talking about maybe a contentious planning commission, we're getting to the end of the year and I know some people's term limits are coming up. Gonna make eye contact with anyone. But,
You're staying around, aren't you?
we do.
Can't.
She termed out, so.
That'll be me next go around.
Your turn down.
Yeah,
too.
we've got a couple people, Glenn.
I'm opting out.
He is choosing to no longer continue with the planning commission, so.
Nothing against anybody here.
If you don't like all this, come on, Glenn. Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand. You know, we've got a couple of people, I didn't bring an updated list, so I'll have to go back to the office and get the 2021 list. But if you know that you're terming out soon, then be thinking about, you know, if there's anyone in your district that would be willing to be on the board and encourage them to fill out an application. I think one of, is it you or Dwight, one of you, I can't remember how we did that.
Well, it was
Or
a short
is it
term, wasn't it?
one
I
of you
started as a
had-
short term, yeah, appointed.
And then we evened up one of your
Right.
terms. I'll look on my 2021 member list.
Because of the five commissioners.
Right. Yeah, that got kinda crazy when we went to 5 districts. That's all I have.
Okay. Well,
Motion to adjourn? Is that what you're
I'll
looking for?
take it. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Is that your?
It's fine, both of them.